Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 10 of Exploring Genuine Transformation. My name is Lori Beth Goldman, and I go by Lori Beth on Facebook, and I'm a psychotherapist and a coach and a healer. And I created this show in order to bring on, the leaders and in the field of transformation. We are at episode 10, and we've had a lot of really fun and meaningful shows. And I created this show because I was wanting to explore transformation for the sake of having more of yourself, for the sake of more intimacy with life, and for the sake of freedom and awakening, versus transformation for the sake of getting what you want in life. And so today, I am going to be interviewing Jesua Wight, and this is totally up her alley, and so I'm really excited to have her on the show. I'm gonna add her now, and then make a more formal introduction then. Okay, so just hang tight. Hi Jay, hi Ella, thanks for tuning in. Just taking a moment with technology. It's okay. Let's see what is happening. It was adding you and then it stopped. Let's see. Hold tight with us. We might start this over if we're having too many technical difficulties. Let's see. Trying you again. Thank you for holding tight, everyone. Let's see if, it says it was adding you. I don't know if you can hear me, Jesua, and then it didn't come all the way through. Let's see if this time it works. Yay, hi friends. Hi Keith, hi David, hi Steve. I'm not sure why we're having difficulty adding Jesua right now. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Okay, yeah, so it says, Jesua, on my end that it keeps saying adding, but it's not coming through. I have really good Wi-Fi, so I don't think it's on my end, but I'm gonna try to add you again. Oh, don't you love technology and Facebook?
Ah, okay, we did it.
It worked. I was like, okay, maybe we're gonna have to start over.
Oh my gosh, it's so humbling.
I know, it is.
Technology.
This is like the beginning of our conversation.
Yes.
Holy messy.
The messy humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
right,
see.
well,
Is this, am I the right side up?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, yay.
Hi.
On the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
So I just want to introduce you to our viewers. And so Jesua is a lifelong mystic, a shamanic healer. She's a non-dual spiritual counselor and a devoted mother of two. And she's really passionate about supporting all kinds of, individuals and couples and communities and families. She has beautiful writings. She writes beautifully about her for very real conversations about our children. And it's just like how to be in that space of just, here we are together, living life and being real and meeting it as it is. And Jesua, what I'm really excited about having you on the show is that, I mean, one, you just are so, your message is so in alignment with why I created this show, which was to be able to, you know, how do we just meet life as it is, and how can the transformational process be a process of having more of ourselves, of being more intimate with ourselves and life and the people in our world and all of the emotions that we experience. And so I'm really excited to have you on here. And I also, what I really appreciate about you is that I feel like I've studied a lot of non-dual, I studied and practiced like in different non-dual traditions and all kinds of different transformational and healing work. And it really feels like you have your own very unique voice and your own way of taking people into the truth of their experience. And so I know that our viewers are going to get a chance to really experience that today. And so I'm overjoyed that you're here and that, you know, people are going to know you and get to experience this. So that's all that I'll say for now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is my first time doing an interview on Facebook, and it's exciting. This is really jumping into a new way of sharing.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I would love for you to just, if you want to start by sharing about your work. I didn't say what the episode was called. If you didn't see the title, it's called Holy Messy Love. And that is Jesua's body of work and also a book that she's written. And I didn't actually forgot to say that she's also a writer and a speaker as well. So if you just want to talk a little bit generally about the work that you do and give our viewers a context.
Sure. Well, we stumbled into naming this episode Holy Messy Love really because that's the name of the book that I recently completed, and it's still in the hands of prospective publishers, so we'll see how it wants to enter into the world. But when that title came to me, it did feel like a way that it encapsulated some aspect of how I perceive the invitation and opportunity, really, of how we can meet every moment, the holiness inherent in this moment, the messiness inherent in this realm, and the love that we are, that we can realize afresh again and again. And in that realization, we are able to bring that to life and bring that to our perception and how we receive and perceive all that life brings to us to meet. I really loved in your description of your show that you're interested in really the essence of awakening beyond getting what we want, and that resonates for me because that's been, we were joking on our conversation a few days ago about how I feel like I've gotten a master's degree and in not getting what I want, and yet what I truly want, you know, this the freedom that's at the heart of all the things we think we want, that has been discovered, and that I love to have a chance to invite people to taste directly through whatever is here, whatever is appearing to be perhaps an obstacle to that.
Beautiful. I also feel like I've gotten a master's degree and not getting what I want, so probably why I created the show.
It's perfect.
I appreciate you naming that. And I'm curious, there's so many different angles that we could go into, and you just seem to speak to something of wanting people to have an experience of, you know, meeting those often unwanted experiences, and how that can lead to more freedom. I know you've also, you didn't just use it in that statement, but you also used the word homecoming. It's something that I think about when I think of you. That there's I mean, you've often used the word like it's a freedom, but it's also a homecoming.
A deeper coming home, right?
Yeah.
An invitation to rest in ourselves as we are, just as we are. There's so much striving. I think we're in this human tendency, we have such a tendency to strive towards attaining, attaining things, attaining value, attaining different identities. It's interesting even to hear you refer to me as a teacher and a speaker and a writer and a mother, because of course those are roles I've played, but I truly don't experience myself as those things, which, has been kind of frightening to lose some of those identities that previously gave me a sense of having a value to impart, having a gift to bring through. And yet what's emptier and freer of all the roles is actually where I find peace. And actually where, if there's any value to be given, it's from that place. Free of all my all the things I've accomplished and attained or haven't accomplished and attained. So I feel like in terms of inviting people, whatever is present at any given moment right now is an opportunity to come home, to allow what's here to be here too. We know this, and yet as we allow some of the hardest, darkest, ugliest aspects of ourselves to really be included in what gets to come home and what gets to be held in this love that we are, that then we don't have to use the life force to keep certain parts or certain aspects out, to keep even the exhaustion out, or the fear of what's happening in our world out, or the shame perhaps, or the self-doubt that can, we can have a tendency to want to push those things out. And yet if we can really let it all be here, then we can lay down the war, then we can lay down the battle and just be as we are.
Yeah, I feel soothed, obviously, in your words. It's like that kind of remembrance to come back to allow, and to allow everything, to rest into everything. I'm also curious if you might be able to, I'm curious if you might be able to even take our viewers deeper into that process. I'm tempted to either have you do it as me as your kind of
sure,
or as yourself.
Yeah,
both of them could work. I have a desire to sort of ground that into
not
what
to
is
have
that
theory
actually like for people. Yeah.
Well, what's present for you right now? What are you aware of?
I'm aware a little bit of feeling like I shared with you before the call that I'm kind of transitioning diets, and sort of my body's in kind of a detox kind of state, and so there's a lot of tightness in my body. I'm aware of that in my forehead and in my heart area, and I'm also aware of a subtle it's like I don't feel as relaxed in myself as I normally do, and especially as I've done more of these videos. So I'm there's a subtle. I noticed as you were talking was there's a subtle sort of oh, I want to feel more relaxed, or I want to feel more dropped in. I want to feel more I'm there's this edge that. But it's interesting, right? Even with what you said, because it's I'm I want this edge to be gone. So all of what I just said is it's even the subtle
right in
way,
the what we don't want.
Yeah, the subtle way that I'm resisting what's actually happening, which is okay.
Yeah, my teacher Gangaji often invites us to feel even more uncomfortable, or even more lost or even more afraid, to allow there to be no separation between you and that discomfort or unrelaxedness. Yeah, I can feel that too. There's a certain, well, the phenomena of this tech and social media and this, I'm staring at my phone and have these headset, and it's easy to move into some sense of separation, but really here we are, you and I together in this moment of life with what's present.
Yeah.
And so if we can really just let go of needing anything to be different than it is, already I can feel a deeper relaxation in myself.
Yeah, I feel that too.
Like, okay. And yeah, with this transition in your diet, the self-compassion too of, wow, there's something new happening right now with your body and with what you're trying out, and it has an impact on the way your mind feels or the way you're, and to not to put down the war or the struggle with anything that's here, and to just let there be a spacious welcome. Thank you for that invitation. It's allowing me to spaciously welcome
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And it's also just interesting to notice like it's the like, but I want to show up a certain way, right? Like meaning I want to be seated in myself. Like that's more what I'm just naming this to track it. Like that's a
yeah.
more comfortable way of being, right? Like then I
Mm-hmm.
feel even what you just said about identity, it's like then I'd feel better about myself, or I'd feel, better about myself as, whatever,
That's
as the
right.
person interviewing. And so it's just really interesting to watch, um, to even trace that, right? Like,
Yeah, beautiful tracking. I mean, there's such that way where we will often, I know I have that pattern, that habit too, of projecting an idealized notion of how I want to appear or how I want to be, and what the distance is then that creates between how I am and how I wish I were
yeah,
appearing. If we close the gap and just it's like die, just surrender and die to this moment, including the messiness, including the imperfection,
yeah,
including that which we can't control being any different than it is. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
yeah.
It's all a mess.
I'm also like aware that I actually put this in a certain place trying to avoid the sun, but it was like
Oh,
the wrong
see?
part.
Perfect. More imperfect.
Because I've done these lives and the sun comes through comes through the skylight at like this time of day. Anyway.
I love it. That it really is, I think, in my own struggles in my life to, just wanting this human experience to not be so messy
Yeah.
and so hard and so tedious and exhausting and not perfect and not pretty, and the constant, decay of form and the constant challenges for the mind, that the part of us that just wants it, the not want, the suffering of not want, and of wanting it to be not so messy. And when we can finally, for me, as I finally really just let the messiness and the imperfection and the humanness and the not finishedness and it's like this, to how to show up right now as we are, like this, not perfect, not complete.
Well, then, and I think even in this exploration, it's like how to come back to, because I noticed still the mind, like in this exploration that we've been doing, what's happening for me, like I noticed this kind of like, still the mind is oriented towards like, I wish that I was out of the sun. And, like it gets so oriented towards what it is that we don't want. So again, I'm sort of coming back to like, okay, and
Well, would you like to take a moment to just move it so that you're not in the sun?
I might That one's an easy solution.
We got to take the easy ones where we can get them.
I know, even yay!
Oh,
Oh, that was
yay!
so much better.
You did it.
I have to move my whole slew of pillows.
Oh, good. There's time.
Thank you.
Oh,
I like
and
that
you don't
because
have to give
instead
any
of,
more energy to that.
well, yeah, and instead of that one being something, right, like there's also the things that we can just say, okay, I'm just going to shift this. I'm just going to name that, something different needs to happen right now. Yeah.
It's a really perfect example, actually, of ways that we, can get caught in unnecessary suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a big deal, like it's the suffering of a relationship that we're in, where actually we just need to move out of the sunlight. It's just time.
Yeah.
Or all the different ways where suffering might appear. And sometimes, sometimes it requires a real deep dive of inquiry or work with trauma or all the different layers. But sometimes it's as simple as just telling the honest truth in this moment of how am I suffering? And what do I want? And what's my piece to play in that? How can I take responsibility?
Well, and even in that truth telling, it seems like then we're bringing it, it's what you just shared, we're bringing it back into, like, we're inviting it into our experience, right? Like even all the, it's like the resistance can be invited in, I wish this other thing was happening, the discomfort, all of that can just, it seems like that's sort of at the heart also of your teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to just let there be silence sometimes. I find in the videos and radio, and it's like we don't want it to let it be silence, but it's so rich just to be in that together.
I was noticing in that moment too that I felt a completeness. So I didn't feel like there was anything else I wanted to ask or was curious about, at least in that moment. I think I felt what we've been talking about, that just like, oh yeah, this is all here.
All right here.
Yeah.
Such a startling revelation. Every moment we stumble into the reality of presence.
Yeah.
It's not something that can be remembered or projected into the future. It's always only right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So delicious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just acknowledging anyone watching or in the future watching this, just really wanting to say hello and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your listening and your presence and your inquiry about the what's not wanted and what's wanted and the noise that can create that distracts us from actually what's already here. And in just allowing what's here to be here. That's a huge piece of where we can lay down unnecessary suffering. Just lay it to rest.
I feel so much joy, kind of like interestingly, how this interview is going, because I've loved the interviews where it's like we just show up exactly as we are, and that the teaching comes through not only your words, which it obviously is, and how that can, but how we can also give like that that this co-creation can really be, it can be an exact, your words have the teachings and so does the exact moment that we're in, right?
Yeah,
Like what's
yeah.
actually unfolding here between us.
Hmm. And what's always unfolding right inside our heart, right inside whatever we are aware of. That is the invitation
Yeah.
to come deeper home, to allow ourselves to rest as we are. So that means, I mean, this has been a really challenging year for me personally, and so I've dived into times of grief and anxiety and all sorts of the human emotions and states that are that which we as a species try to avoid. Usually, as a rule, let's keep those really hard, dark, sticky, scary places out, scrambling away. And yet, what I discover again and again is that when I can find the willingness, the courage, the presence, the surrender to be with what life is bringing me to be with, to not push it away, to not push it off, to not numb it out, but instead to really be so generous with myself and life that grief can be here too, that fear can be here too, that the discomfort of uncertainty, there's enough room for that right here, that self-doubt, confusion, all the ones that are, yeah, make us want to squirm and, and instead to find the capacity to just bear it. Then it's not any of these things aren't the boogeyman anymore. We can actually invite the nightmare home to that which is already at peace.
I love your words, and again, it brings me into, it's like, how do we invite that in more and more? I find obviously this is the practice, right, for each of us in our own lives. And for me, I think I'm been on somewhat of a similar path to you, that it's like it's a moment to moment inquiry. Like, where am I, um, how am I resisting right now? Or, oh, I'm feeling this and I don't want to be feeling it, or I am able to be with it, or, all the different skill sets and tools that one might use. I'm just curious, like, again, if you can kind of, how can we kind of, how can, I know that the path is different for everybody, but I'm sort of wanting people to get a real sense of also working with you, how do you kind of invite that in even more deeply?
Well, I work with people very presently. And so for whoever's listening right now, if there's anything that you're aware of that's arising, a way that maybe something that you're aware that you don't want to be with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a subtle presence in the background, or something you're noticing you're waking up in the middle of the night with, or first thing in the morning, and perhaps you can even feel it right now. If you can just let the tendency to push it away or turn away from it or push it down, to just stop for a moment and actually allow that to be here, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be something negative. Maybe there's an incredible joy you keep pushing away. A deep sense, I don't want to assume or project that it's something negative. But of course, that is what people often seek out support or help with, is around feeling stuck. And so, yeah, I think a lot of the work is about seeing the ways that we habitually don't want to be with
Yep.
what's here. And it takes the maturity and the willingness to stop, to stop that and allow what's here to be here.
Yeah.
You know, it's the resistance to suffering is usually the biggest part of suffering, the anticipation of suffering, or and so when we let that part move out of the way, the resistance or the avoidance, and just let the suffering, let the discomfort, let the angst, let the mind, whatever it is for you, be here. And just actually be with it. Just be intimate with that part. And see what that leads to. So it's a little abstract because I'm not talking to those people. So I would probably ask in this moment, and now what are you feeling? And we could go into it more deeply. But I think that the deepest message is that whatever's here is exactly what's needed for you to go deeper, come deeper home to love with yourself. So the things that we think are the obstacle are actually the gateway.
Yeah.
And I think that's a trap we can get into around feeling like, if only this was gone, if only this problem was gone, if only this annoying person was out of my situation, or if only I had a different job, or if I wasn't worried about money, or if I lost weight, or whatever the thing is, when we're willing to be with the underlying suffering that is in that not want, in that pushing away, that can allow us to actually rest into life, into this moment, this precious fleeting moment. I mean, who knows how long we have? We spend so much of our time scrambling and running away and running towards. Yeah. And when we can let ourselves actually be here with the pain, the willingness to be intimate with pain and discomfort is a great liberator.
Yeah, and I also that was so beautiful. Thank you. I really got the direct transmission of that.
Good.
Yeah, and what you said too about, noticing resistance, noticing the tendency to kind of, all the ways that we move away from suffering, or from the things that we don't want to feel.
Yeah, with food and other substances and staying busy and gossip and texting and all the ways
or even the stories that we create about
especially
the emotions that we feel. I remember, and I think I told you this on the call that we just had, but one of your writings, it was a long time ago, but you also brought up self-loathing, and I love that one so much as a way that we disconnect, because it's just it feels so true in the people that I work with, and sort of all of humans, that it's like it's another way of disconnecting from what's truly here.
Yeah, I think self-loathing is really at the core for most of us. So underneath all the more superficial layers of suffering, there's some deep sense of not being enough. I got to meet freshly recently an experience of worthlessness, utter worthlessness, that which we absolutely avoid feeling and do everything we can to make sure that we have some semblance of worth in the world and in our lives and to the people around us. And yet for me, I had to meet some sense of utter worthlessness in order to go deeper into that which is ultimately the only worth, which is this that contains us all. But yeah, there can be a suffering even in that which appears to be, you know, the great working ego of the world, of self-value and self-importance, and yet all the work that it takes to keep that propped up. And
Well, and I think one of the things that this makes me think of that I have thought about a lot, and my last year, there's been a lot of, well, throughout my life, there's been a lot of disappointment, but especially within the last year in certain realms of creating a new business and expecting it. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then it's going to create this, and that not happening in the timeline or the way that I want it to. I think that what I got to see is that I kept getting to let go of layers. I've continually been able to let go of layers of my worth and of my peace and of my happiness being dependent on that, for example. But there's actually, that's what you're speaking of, but the gift, there's so many gifts in not getting what we want.
yes,
Having
back
to
to
face
that.
those parts, right? Because like you said, if you can face the truth of, oh, I feel worthless, or, you know, I feel anxious, or even like, you know, even for me in that situation, being able to I just kept getting to go deeper and like, oh, actually, I'm okay. Like, none of this needs to happen in order for me to, you know, feel my own inherent goodness.
Yes,
I'm
what's
not
not
always, I'm not
touched.
always in that place, but but I've
Mm-hmm.
had more of that, and the freedom that I, you know, just found more and more in things not working out as I have wanted them to. And trusting that I'm still, you know, well, having a felt experience of that. Like, oh yeah, and actually, like, how freeing that, you know, I'm not still caught in a story that if I do all these things and I'm, you know, in the perfect vibrational alignment, or, I mean, all the stuff that we hear, you know, if I'm completely, whatever, if I, you know, if I'm somehow, that's the big one that comes to mind. Like, if you have the right mindset or you're in the right alignment, then the thing will happen. It's been really freeing for me to have things not happen and to be like, you know, I don't need that.
Mm.
And that isn't the truth. Like, I think then I'd be living with something that was untrue. Like, oh, look, I was able to do this. Now I get to feel good about myself. Or now I get to tell myself the story of why this happened.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's the gifts that come from failure and rejection and yeah, all that which we don't want. We get to see what's not touched by it, and what's the only true success. Yeah, and no matter what rejections occur, what rests completely at home, at peace, in self-embrace. Yeah.
I love that you just used the word self-embrace, because I think one of the ways that I appreciate your work and your transmission is that it feels like it's like that in that coming home, right? That's the non-dual piece. It's like, oh, okay, we're all this is all one in a certain way. I mean, the experiential part of that sense of like, this actually, that's my experience when I'm able to rest into feelings. It's like, oh, there's actually some bliss and some pleasure here.
It's amazing.
This is amazing. Um, but also what I love, I mean, this comes through, I think, in just your being, but the compassion and the love part of it, the mothering part of it, right? That we can rest into ourselves, but in a way that feels like we're also holding ourselves. Um, it's not just kind of like you know, sort of, not that non-dual is dry, but there are definitely certain traditions where it feels like it's kind of like, I mean, that isn't what
Right.
dual is, but yeah, but that kind of embracing and that feeling of, of that love, you know?
Everything's included.
Yeah.
That's the radical inclusivity. Really, everything gets to be included. Yeah, and that can be hard for the mind too. It's like, you mean, ugh, even that which we'd rather not be included? It's like, yes,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
hmm What includes it all? That's right here, right here. Yeah, I love that too. I know what you mean about the dryness at times of non-dualism. It's funny, all the words we need to find to define ourselves, or like call myself a non-dual counselor, or, it's really all these words just are, they fumble and stumble in trying to convey that which is essentially
Yeah.
unspeakable. But yeah, I guess, there's the awareness that's aware of itself, that aspect of non-dual teachings. But for me, really, in this moment, to recognize that who I am and who you are, and that which connects all of life is right here, right in our hands. It's very close for me, closer than even awareness. Where are you right now?
Where am I physically?
Physically,
Oh, I'm in Port Townsend. I'm at my
you're
home.
in Port Townsend.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We both live in very probably pretty similar, maybe not similar ecosystems, but somewhat. Right, you're in
Mm-hmm.
Ashland.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I went to Port Townsend once when I was for a little road trip when I was in my early 20s, and
Mm.
loved it so much. Such a sweet little town.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
I imagined I could live there someday, but I never did. Never have yet.
Yeah. Yet.
Yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels much easier to tap into what we're speaking to living here.
Mm,
There's
that's
just
beautiful.
a lot of really beautiful nature and the ocean
Lots of space.
and slow. It's a pretty slow. People are much slower.
Hmm. Yeah, I found that a deep relief moving from the Bay Area back up to Ashland. It's
Mm-hmm.
less information coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I feel that. It's funny when you said, "Where are you?" I was thinking, so I was feeling your words so strongly, and Troy Cohn and I have been doing these shows on Thursdays that are called The Truth of the Moment, where we're literally just exploring what's happening between us.
Mm,
And it was reminding me, because I've had this a lot with him as well, where I'm going to ask, this is going to turn into a question, but
okay.
I noticed that when I'm in contact with another human and I'm listening to your words, and obviously your words are speaking this truth, but also just that we're kind of in this slower, sort of more, present contact, that it feels like whatever is happening in my experience, like there's a softening and there's an exact experience of what we've been talking about that happens
Mm,
quite easily. And it's actually my most direct experience of what we were just talking about, like the sort of the loving embrace of non-duality.
hmm
Like I feel it in my body, and the shape of the sensations that I was speaking of at the beginning, like it's like they take on. It's like I literally feel like I'm sort of like a wave, with the entirety of the universe. And so I've been in this curiosity with this around, like it happens so much more like so much more easily in contact with another. And so I think I
mm,
was curious for you. I mean, I've done a lot of, and I'm sure people watching have too, like a lot of solitary meditation practice and a lot of time just being, being in my own space. and I have had profound experiences, and yet I guess I'm curious if you might speak to like how that is for you alone, you know, and
Mm,
how people can connect even more deeply.
mm,
Because I don't think it's just me. I think that's why we obviously work with people, right? Because there's a sense of like, oh, and now I can just in your presence, there's something that's
mhm,
available, right?
mhm,
There's something new. There's a truth that I can like. It's much easier to connect to the truth.
mhm. It's contagious too.
Yeah, yeah, because we have mirror neurons too, right? So it's like we feel
Right.
each other. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, personally, I'm such a my natural tendency is very introverted, um,
Hmm.
and so I would say historically and generally, it's actually easier for me to drop into the essential truth
Mm.
and that which I find most powerfully nourishing to remember when I am alone or in silence or in stillness or and it's for me when I'm then come in contact with people or attending to my role as a mother or where it takes more vigilance then for me to stay very grounded and centered in that which is holding us all and present. You know, there can be more of a temptation to move into trigger or fixation or thinking something about whoever I'm working with or, you know, and not so much in my work, of course, but in relationship.
Hmm. Hmm.
So your question is about, yeah, diving into this on our own. Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I have a similar experience to you in the sense of like I'm fairly introverted and I've done a lot, I do a lot alone, but in this kind of, it's like, I think I would also, I struggle more when I'm just in the day to day and things are moving and I'm in relationships. But it feels like there's a kind of meeting that can happen between two
Mhm.
people in this more present way, right?
Yes.
Kind of that I personally find even easier than like something gets to be known and experienced that can be harder to touch, you know, in more solitary states. I
Hmm.
think I was just more curious, you know, in your practice and with yourself, because I think it's like we get to have this contact with others, and obviously we're also a big piece of your teaching too, right? It's like we're cultivating this with self.
Hmm.
Like no matter what we have or don't have, right? No matter who's there, no matter, you know, if you were on an island alone for the rest of our lives, right?
Hmm.
That's gonna happen.
Sounds pretty good. No, I'm just kidding. It is interesting when we come to find so much love with ourselves that it's really great company. Um,
Yeah, yeah, so
it's really
true.
great
Yeah.
company. Um, yeah, I think, I mean, we're really ultimately we're who we've got, right? And so I think even just the daily, you know, not even like let's take it out of the realm of meditation, but the small ways that we can
Mm-hmm.
bring gestures of tenderness to ourselves, the small ways of returning to self-love or reassuring self-love or I like, you know, we have these bodies. It's like the small ways we can just really be tender with this creature, with this imperfect, still growing one, you know, who's really doing their best to just show up in these wild times as we are. And that a little self-compassion and a little self-forgiveness goes a long way. You know, so yes, the stillness and connecting in with the great vast spaciousness of oneself can be incredibly nourishing, as can be a kind word to ourselves and a wink to ourselves, some ways that we can allow ourselves to know that, you know, hey, I've got you. I've got you. You're good. It's good. Just this step, just this next moment, just this breath. And that in relationship, the more compassion I can bring myself, the more patience I can bring myself, the more, of course, I can be gracious with those around me.
Thank you so much. I really, yeah, I'm moved by that answer. And again, it kind of brings me back into, it's like, it just brings me back into like the maternal and the feminine, like that way of being. And that just an encouragement for people to really, it's like presence can happen in any moment. It's not about obviously sitting on the cushion, and that we can, for me, what I'm getting out of that, out of what you just shared, is like, it's part of what I'm getting in being in contact with you is a certain kind of love and softness and compassion. So then it's like, it's those qualities, right? It's like bringing those into the very moment to moment experience of our lives, that can kind of make the shift.
Yeah, love gets to show up in all the ways, in the softest caress as well as the fiercest sword of no, and enough is enough, with the patterns of unnecessary suffering or whatever it is. So yeah, it's love is pretty amazing, all the ways it shows up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so beautiful. Well, I feel drawn to, I think I would love to actually, if you're open to it, to you talking about the program that you will be doing, because it feels like that was a little bit of a segue into it. If you're
yeah, sure,
interested to talk about what you shared with me about what you're wanting to offer to women.
To women, right. So I've never before, as I was saying to you, I've never before limited my work to women, and I don't intend to. I love working with everyone. But I have been called, I feel like I'm receiving some kind of assignment to do a course this fall for women that's really about holy dignity and self-respect, and to really explore together how to break the spell of self-betrayal in our lives. And what I've found in my own life and working with many, many women and having so many incredible wise women sisters is that we can, come to harness a tremendous amount of wisdom and dignity in the way that we're working in many of our relationships, and yet find ourselves again and again caught in patterns of self-betrayal. And I did a video recently about unnecessary suffering and seeing how we might be creating unnecessary suffering in our lives. And I got a lot of wonderful responses from women seeing that they had an unconscious commitment, how they might have had an unconscious commitment to disappointment or to settling for crumbs in relationships, or all these different ways. And what I saw was, there really seems to be a call to do deeper work with women around what it takes to claim dignity, to claim our true dignity, and what that means in a spiritual context as well. So yeah, I'll stay tuned. I'll be writing more and probably talking more about that soon, and putting something out there. But I'm excited. It feels like a beautiful way to draw a sacred circle around a group of women, a group of conscious women who've really done a lot of work, and say, hey, let's together look at what's underlying these choices and these patterns that end up creating more of what we don't want in the realm of relationship, and what those men don't want either. It's not just about for the women. So, and to really, find some deeper freedom in those ways.
I love that. Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you. Well, so if you can you let people know kind of how they
Yeah.
can follow you and how they can find you?
Yep. So you can find me on Facebook, Jesua Wight, and you can also find me on my website, which is jesua.com, soon to transition to jesuawight.com. But you'll be able to still find me just at jesua.com, Jesua.com. And yeah, and if you'd like to be kept in the loop on around courses and different events, you can personal message me your email, and that would be a great way to know that I've got it and I can send you information. And I'm available for, I'm still working with people one-on-one. I am transitioning more into to teaching groups. So, but I am available in that way if you're called.
Thank you so much. And I
Mm-hmm.
would definitely continue to, well, I would check out Jesua's writings on her website, but also on Facebook. And like I said at the beginning, I really, because I've been I'm a child and adolescent therapist, I just have a particular kind of love for the writings that you do around your conversations with your children. And kind of like, I feel like it's calling the next level of like, conscious parenting and also being with life, like helping kids to really be with life as it is and in all of its shades and colors. So thank you so much for that
Thank you.
contribution. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Lori.
Again, my name is Lori Beth, and I see psychotherapy clients, and I also online, actually on video, and I also do what I call women's empowerment, embodiment, and freedom coaching. And really, I do a combination. The thing I love to do the most is awaken women's, I would say, their soul power and their light and their love and their radiance through going into the darkness. That's really, and going into the shadows and the places that scare us the most. That's the path that I've walked, and it's really the thing that I love the most. So I do a combination of a more somatic and energetic healing modality that I've really created over the years of the work that I've done, and doing a lot of nervous system rewiring and trauma healing. So if you're interested in working with me, I'm working one-on-one with people right now. And you can find me obviously on this page and at my website, which is loribethgoldman.com. So thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much, Jesua.